Welcome to the Lifelinks podcast, all you sassy Latinas. This is where you come to hear stories that resonate with you, help you discover your true cultural identity, tossing off the need to fit in, and standing out with your authenticity, because that is your superpower. I'm your host, Consuelo Crosby, and also the creator of this content. If there's anything you'd like to share, please reach out to us on our Instagram social media at Lifelinks, that's LNXX, or through our website at thelinks.com. Of course, come here for some love and chat sessions with our fab guests from the comunidad. Sit back, have your cafecito, maybe some vino, whatever you like. We are bringing the sisterhood to you. Hola, chicas! So happy to have you joining me here every Wednesday on the Lifelinks podcast. I'm your host, Consuelo Crosby, creator of this podcast and dedicated to bringing you amigas sharing their journeys towards embracing their cultural identity and successfully finding their true path. And that is going to be a hopping topic for us today and through the end of season 4, which is wrapping up at the end of the month. Can you believe it? There was an expression I learned when I was having my little ones that said, any given day can feel like a lifetime. And you know the days I'm talking about, right? But then months and years can just zip by. Are you feeling that? That's what it's feeling like right now. Seriously. So we can be grateful that Wednesdays give us a chance to sit in this love and liberty of compassion and empathy for our fellow amigas in this community. Just lean in and listen as each one, whether it's a guest on the podcast or a comment on our social media or our listeners, understanding what the frustration is of being disconnected from true cultural identity and that enthusiasm and the joy of discovering it on their own terms. Well, today is going to zip by a little because this is a Pod Club episode where we revel in what we learned in last week's episode. It's our version of a book club gathering, so sit back with whatever bevvie you enjoy and let your thoughts flow. I'm wondering what you had come up with from last week's episode with Stephanie De La Cruz of De La Creamery Ice Cream, because wow, she was going places. She had been places and she's going places. Now, no worries if you haven't caught up on all the episodes, because like we said, weeks, months, years, they fly by. But no worries, because today's episode stands alone. But even so, you want to go back and catch up on Stephanie's episode, because she really said it best when it comes to cultural identity. And did you catch her on the IG stories this weekend? We had a meetup, an in real life rendezvous. I finally made it to her pop-up. Can't say she did not have the coyotes and cream, but I did grab me an horchata while picking up my order. I had a full-blown spontaneous order because we were having this special gathering of my familia for the first time. All of us together again without all the hype of the weddings. And God bless her, Stephanie came through. So much joy. And a gallon of that luscious ice cream. So we're going to dive into the gems we heard last week from her, and then go hand in hand with a valuable experience I had in presenting at the National Conference of College Women Student Leaders at University of Maryland last week. And let's just say, wow. Our future is feisty and secure in the hands of these amazing women leaders. It was such a blessing to be a part of that experience, and I feel so honored still. I kind of pinch myself, like I can't believe I was given that opportunity. So much thanks to AAUW for creating this event and accepting me as part of their presentation. You'll get a sneak peek into next week's episode with thought leader Valeria Alo founder of the Rising Together movement, and award-winning author of Uncolonized Latinas, Transforming Our Mindsets and Rising Together. I tell you, every piece of today's episode is putting out the red carpet for you to walk into your cultural identity with all the glam and attitude and, well, you know, I don't need to tell you, you are sassy Latinas and you bring it every day. So let's deep dive into last week's episode with Stephanie De La Cruz, the Mexican-American entrepreneur bringing the heat into the ice cream industry with her homemade flavors influenced by her Mexican heritage. Stephanie's story took some really wide swings, like I said, but it makes sense when we learned of her family and childhood experience. First off, an LA Chicana who's a San Francisco Giants fan, like those don't even go in the same sentence, and whose father would road trip them all up for a game. 4 sisters and her mom in the car for a Giants game from LA? I tell you, that just doesn't happen. And then her dream, or even multiple dreams, all come true. Earning a degree in audio engineering, working for the Giants, and eating ice cream on all her breaks. And yet, even so, she knew there was something not quite right in her life. She had that feeling. She knew she had more to give than what her roles were requiring of her, but she just couldn't put a finger on it until she received that infamous ice cream machine one Christmas from her partner, Craig, to who we should all be grateful for lighting this chica up. In just 2 years, Stephanie went from legit, secure, 9-to-5 job, 401k, vacation time off that every Latina mother wants for their daughters, regardless of how they feel about it, to amazingly successful ice cream maker and founder with her products available in the store. And all of that success in 2 short years is based on her finding her way back to her Mexican heritage. She discovered that catalyst, that way back to her soul, that would propel her into the life she was born to live, rather than the life she was expected to live. I mean, that last episode just does a full circle. That is one trip around the sun, showing how you can get onto one path and be doing everything right, everything as expected, as hoped for, hitting your marks, and yet taking a hard pause and going, wait a minute, I have so much more. Because when you discover your cultural identity, as it resonates to each person individually, you unwrap your true identity. You pull open that stage curtain, you throw on the spotlight, and you exclaim, here I am. Estoy aquí. In pulling back all the layers of other people's expectations for you, of cultural narratives that don't apply in the modern day, of survival in an unknown society that doesn't support you, in pulling back all those layers, there, lying in the heart of your beautiful self, is your soul. Lying there is who you are. Beating there in the middle of your entire self is who you are. And who you are is so completely different from what you are. Who you are versus what you are. And Stephanie expressed such warm gratitude for this podcast and the time to spend speaking about herself, her true self, telling her story of who she is. Because more often, people only want to know about what she is. A Latina founder and business professional, an entrepreneur of Mexican-influenced ice creams. But as she emphasized last week, De La Creamery is all based on who she is. Without discovering and embracing her Mexican heritage as who she is. Because like we said, she would never have gone there without discovering her true self. She was locked into her successful career already. But Stephanie would not have unleashed all the powerful attributes that scream, I am Latina. Her love of people and compassionate collaborations within the community, her pride in representing her culture as her profession, the intellectual innovation to create flavor after flavor ideas and then manifest them all for us to enjoy. That is who Stephanie is. And everything else becomes what she does. Those are her natural attributes. Those are her intuitive innovations. All of that comes from deep inside her. And we love you, Stephanie, absolutely. And yes, there is a spoon in my gallon of ice cream sitting in the freezer. And no, I am not sharing anymore. I wish I could have brought some to all the attendees at my presentation last week for so many reasons. I almost hit you up with it. And even though I couldn't bring them De La Creamery ice cream, I did gift fabulous lip glosses to each one thanks to Melissa Polanco of Ring of Color beauty brand. Do you remember her from episode 89? Yes, our zoologist turned career counselor turned entrepreneur for the love of all Latinas. We all looked fab, so thank you, Melissa, for ensuring my order made it out there for these amazing women and they walk out into the world in their student leadership roles looking sassy. I presented a workshop at the National Conference for College Women Student Leaders that's organized every year by the AAUW. And thankfully, this year, we got to have it in person again. They were amazing, powerful, diverse young women who just ran with the workshop concept, cultural identity. Authenticity is your superpower. And the gratitude I received from Stephanie in regard to providing the space and the platform is that same exuberance I received from these ladies. For having a space where they could share their stories and where others were there to listen to who they are, even as they still uncover their layers. And by sharing in that safe place, we could develop trust with each other. And with that, we leaned in to create this community. And in that community, you can share so openly and honestly, and layer after layer will peel off in that scenario. It was so enlivening. And you'll be hearing some of these women in our future episodes, so stay tuned. For as much as I love creating this safe space for Latinas to share their experiences, and both joyous and difficult, I'm still taken back by the lack of other platforms open to us. Seriously, by the time most of us get a chance to share our journey and tell our truths, we are busting at the seams trying to hold it all together. There's no place to take this. And by the time we finally find someone who will listen to our story and we let it all out, every detail, we spill the tea. And I know you can hear your mother's tongue. You shouldn't be saying that. Cállate. It feels so good to let it all out, feel our true self, and stop holding back because of all the cultural narratives or the systemic barriers. And that's why next week's Fab guest took it upon herself to write her award-winning book on exactly this experience. Leria Alod left her home in Argentina upon being accepted to Dartmouth University for an MBA. And she leapt at the opportunity without fully understanding what it would be like to uproot her known and move to that unknown. Even with decades of profoundly successful corporate career, a young family, she had community, Valeria still hit a hard stop. She burned out and set herself on a path to reconnect with her culture and find her true purpose. And now, she is an award-winning author, founder of the Rising Together movement. She has a master's in spiritual science and set to accelerate Latinas into spaces of influence, leadership, and wealth. I tell you, her story will have you exclaiming, "No way, no way," every other line. It's truly an amazing journey. And just saying, a little spoiler alert, when the universe wants to get a message to you, it will, at any cost. But most of all, her deep compassion and that fierce determination are just a fiery mix that encourages listeners to live true to who they are and discover that joy that will propel you into the dreams that you can't even imagine right now. So tune in next week to listen to Valeria Alo, author of Uncolonized Latinas. And you can get a free chapter of her book to read ahead of time at her website, valeriaalo.com. Remember to share this podcast with all your amigas. Invite them into this community. Follow or subscribe to the podcast, depending on your streaming platform, so you don't miss any episode. They drop right into your listening device. And follow us on our Instagram at LifeLinks. That's LNXX. So you can catch a vibe of what's happening and also join in the conversation. There's so much out there that we would love to have on here. So please start a conversation. Let us know what's going on. If you'd like to join on the show, give a shout out because each of us have an amazing story. So get on your path to discovering your cultural identity, ladies. Step into your truth. Ciao. Really appreciate the time you take to rate and review the podcast. Get the backstory and what you've heard here today and reach out to us at thelinks.com. That's LNXX. Because it's about time, it's about us. Stay in the groove on our social media at LifeLinks and get ready to make your move, ladies. Viva!